I've decided to go from lovely Austin to Albuquerque, New Mexico, a total of 704 miles, give or take. And I'm going to do that in the 2015 Jetta TDI with manual transmission. Well, according to the map, it's 705 miles, and that's what it looks like. That is one hell of a distance. 705 miles, 10 hours, 53 minutes of driving, solo. I think the Jetta's capable of that. I don't know how capable I am. I can get 46 miles per gallon out of the Jetta TDI, and with 14.5 gallons fuel tank capacity, that means I can go 667 miles on a full tank. So wish me luck. We're gonna head over to the gas station or the diesel station and fill up the tank, reset the tripodometer, and get going. I've got my coffee, I have a case of water in the trunk, and we're ready to go. Let's do this. Got my backup camera, very handy. All right, I have a full tank. It's 10:42 in the morning. We have started. Look at this fuel gauge. It's LCD. The problem I have here is, because it's not an analog gauge, I have little chunks in the fuel gauge, and I have to guess when that chunk is going to go out. I'm not getting a finite gauge of the fuel tank. I'm just sort of getting a guess of what I have left. So when I continue with my travel today, as I get to the bottom, I have no idea what I've got. The fuel tank capacity here in this Jetta for diesel and gasoline is 14.5 gallons. But in this case, I topped off the tank, and I have not just what's in the tank, but I have in the fuel filler neck. Now, it's a good thing this car has the SOS button and the wrench. So we're gonna find out, if I don't make it, what sort of roadside assistance I'm gonna receive during 4th of July weekend, when travel is gonna be pretty heavy. Let's get rolling. All right. Well, I'm just gonna use my phone because this car does not have GPS. I've never been this route. I don't know what to expect. All I have is my phone, and I'm not going to refuel. If I run out, I run out. And my route is clear according to Google Maps on my phone, and what it says is I will arrive at 9:31 p.m. I'm wondering what life would have been like for Indiana Jones if he had a Jetta TDI. Would he be younger, fatter, lazier, relaxed? Would he still be afraid of snakes? Would this be his whip? The variety of different cars that you can get today with these diesel engines really speaks for itself, because the other time I drove a Q5, which is an Audi, and that's an SUV, and before that I drove a hatchback, Volkswagen Golf with a manual transmission, and now I'm in a four-door sedan, diesel with a manual. So this is a fun car, and at the same time you can just hop in it and go. And in this case, we can go from Austin to Albuquerque. We're going to see if I'm going to make it. I'm not too sure if I'm going to make it all the way, but at the same time, when you're in a place like this, you're pretty confident that when you're 1 or 2 hours into your journey, such as I am, you can really go for the long haul. There's a really long-term capability, a long range, and you don't have to worry about anything in between here and there. Well, the air air conditioning is not working that well, so I'm gonna have to go with
Continue
sunroof
on State Route 29 west for 3 miles.
and bake in the sun while I at least get some fresh air in here. It's only 89 degrees outside, and even on max cool, it's just not working. We have a 625 mile range, which still puts us at 725, and that's what the car thinks. We're averaging 48.6, however, and at 14.5 gallons, I still don't think it's gonna make it. Air conditioning is really important, especially when you're heading west, because when you don't have tinted windows, the sun bears down on you. I mean, I am just totally sunbathing, and air conditioning is what wicks the moisture away. You have to have plenty of water in your car, because with the AC on, it's extracting moisture from the air. It's also extracting moisture from you, and water is essential. That's why I always have a case in the trunk. Ventilated seats definitely keep you cooler and would definitely reduce the strain on air conditioning, and it would be better to have actual vents in the seats, which you can't get on the Jetta, but some other cars you can get that. And air conditioning is really, really important, and you don't really pay attention to it until it doesn't work. I'm at the halfway point, 350 miles. I don't know where I am. It's flat and wide open, and I'm on a 2-lane road, and I'm finally at the halfway point. So there's no turning back now. Completed, 425 mile range, 51.2 average. I can do 500 miles in 7 hours. That's on the interstate. I have not taken any interstates on this trip, so I've ended up in little towns, going, through little streets, and then making a right, making a left, red light, green light, red light, and then getting back onto a highway like this. So it's been quite frustrating. At the same time, it's 94 degrees out and averaging 58 miles per hour. So that means even when I'm sitting at the stoplight, I'm doing 58 miles per hour. Why am I doing so well? The reality is, when I filled up the tank, I topped it off. That was the best way to get the most accurate measure of how much fuel is going to be used. Each pump will shut off at a different time. The best measure is always to do a sight on it and make sure that you top it off. It's a little harder to do in these Jettas which have a little nozzle at the top to keep you from misfueling, but you still get a general idea for when it's full. And when the car does its calculations, it's calculating it based on 14.5 gallons. So you can burn through, let's just say, an extra gallon, and it doesn't know. The car only thinks it started with a full tank, 14.5 gallons, not 15.5 gallons. So when we get to the final point of refueling, these average miles per gallon stats aren't necessarily going to be accurate, because we are using more fuel than the car is anticipating. Well, 414 miles and 7 hours, 4 minutes. I just hit New Mexico, land of enchantment. .286 miles to go. And my range, well, we're not going to talk about my range right now, because I already passed the halfway point, and we will discuss range when I get to the 100-mile marker. You're going to love this. I don't know if I will, but you will. In the middle of nowhere, you're going to get people who drive like complete tools. And I don't understand why they do that. Because, well, if something bad was to happen, they're hundreds of miles from a hospital. It's going to take time to get there. It's also going to be very expensive if you have to get there by helicopter. Good news, does not travel by helicopter. That's what I heard once. I guess the closest hospital would be Roswell. Of course, that is a hospital for aliens. Right on, we're nearest makes no difference, right? 500 miles, close enough. Average 59 miles an hour, 81 degrees. 8 hours, 25 minutes to get this far. That's an hour and 25 longer than normal for me. 53.2 miles per gallon average. 325 mile range. I'm not going to give that up. 499 miles. So according to that, if it's accurate, with the half tank left, 325 miles on half a tank left, 499 miles done on the other half, is that really an 825 mile tank? Can I really go 825?
Continue on East Pine Lodge Road for 3 miles.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Google Maps. Now here comes some heavy rain. Wow, that is some strange stuff. Here comes some heavy rain. Oh! Yes! Holy crap. Actually, I'm not tired after, geez, how long? 9 hours and 40 minutes of driving. and some rest stops, 2 rest stops, and because I had a lot of water. What I'm not experiencing here is I'm not tired, and what that means is the car is doing something correctly, and most of the time is the alignment is the first thing I know, is that I'm not wandering through the lane. The second thing I've noticed is the cabin comfort, so road noise, wind noise, engine noise, and those things are at a minimum in certain circumstances. I think that always you can blame the tires for road noise, and wind noise doesn't really happen, and engine noise, not in this one. You know, one of the benefits of the way Volkswagen does things is this car does not have rain sensing wipers, but you can get rain sensing wipers if you get the right trim level. And the wiper stock actually is the same. It also has the same switch here. And if you don't have the rain sensing wipers, the switch is still here, but the switch actually controls the speed of the intermittent wiping. So you're actually able to tell it, hello cows, you're actually able to tell it how often you want the intermittent to be. But if you have a rain sensor, this is actually the sensitivity level. So as a part of the way Volkswagen does things and keeps costs the way they are, they don't necessarily punish you for not getting rain sensing wipers. They simply reward you with a cool feature that allows you to fine-tune the intermittent speed. And I like that. That's really nice. I mean, that's traditional in Volkswagens. They lost some traditional stuff in this car, but they still kept the things. And this is a little thing, but it's that detail, that finite level of detail, where you really got to start looking around. The other one is the child safety lock on the windows. So you can lock out the windows in the rear with this one little button. And, well, I guess they all do that, huh? But this one lights up yellow when it's active. It's not a stupid switch. It's a button. You push it, it goes from the regular color to yellow. That's nice. I like it. Here's something that always impresses me about diesels. I got cruise control on. I'm in 6th gear, as you can tell. And what I'm going to do is set the cruise control up by 15 miles an hour. I'm going to go from 60 to 75. And notice the tachometer, how little it moves. I'm not downshifting. This is a manual. I'm keeping it in 6th gear. So the tachometer will barely move, and watch the speedometer climb. And the relationship of the speed climb to the tachometer movement is mind-boggling in a 4-cylinder diesel. Look at that. That's behaving like a V8. I'm not getting that performance right now, and I wouldn't expect it out of this one. But just to see the gauges, if I sped that up on film and told you this was a V8, you'd go, wow, that's one hell of a Jetta. How do I get my hands on it? For the most part, you don't notice things going on, which helps me combat fatigue on drives. I don't know what part of town I'm in, but I just passed 2 gas stations. They look to be the only gas stations in this town, and everyone who passed me for the last 2 hours, they were all at these gas stations. I wish I had my camera on. I swear that's what happened. And well, because I still have 135-mile range, I don't need to stop there. Maybe they know something I don't. I mean, I've never taken this path before, but even with 135-mile range, GPS is telling me I have 102 miles to go. I don't know how that's going to work out, and I have no one here to push me, so the range is going to be my real fuel gauge. So this fuel gauge is useless, is what I'm trying to tell you, but I think you know that already. Check this out. There's nothing. There's nothing. Speed limit's back up to 65. So we can keep moving. Moving. 70 set. All right. that's accurate. 105 miles left on the range, and you see it still says a quarter tank. That thing hasn't moved down by one little dot at all. I love me some heated seats. These are great, 3-stage heated seats. Can't go wrong with that. This is the range of the bright lights. This is the range of the normal lights. These lights are not that good. They've always been terrible halogen lights. The only thing I could recommend is that if you can ever upgrade lights, if you ever have the option to upgrade lighting, always take the option. Because lighting like this, I don't know how well the GoPro camera is going to pick it up, but this lighting is not effective enough on the highway to be able to see animals at 70 miles an hour. And this is bright. Bright lights are a little better, but again, you have eye strain with lighting, and you have cabin lighting that you're not picking up here. So let me back this out. So this is the huge screen we have, and all the interior lights. And so your eyes are seeing these first before they see outside, and we can dim it. This is like the screen's on the medium setting, and I can dim my things, but I can't see the gauges enough. So how about right there? And again, I don't know how much the camera's going to pick up, but these are the normal headlights. It almost looks like they're not on. Always go for the option. Number one tip.
In a quarter mile, turn left.
Okay, sure. Looks like I'll be getting on Interstate 40.
Turn left.
Done that.
Continue on I-40 west for 57 miles.
All right, 57 miles. One last time for a pit stop. I actually need to get more water out of my trunk and change the batteries in the GoPro. Perfect timing. This is a great spot for a rest area. Speaking of which, I noticed that there are hardly any rest areas in New Mexico when you're not on the interstate. And just to keep that in mind when you're traveling, to stay on the interstate, you have more people, more visibility, probably less whatever. Well, that rest stop is complete. Right now I have there's 3 dots left on the quarter tank, 80-mile range of fuel, and GPS is telling me 54 miles to go. Oh, sorry, 48 miles to go. I'm at the rest stop. 60 miles remaining on the tank, and my low fuel warning light came on. I just get that little yellow gas station icon there. 60 miles remaining, and I have something like 36 miles to go. So all is looking good. I have 30 miles left on the range, and speed limit's 75. I'm doing 75. The range, though, is concerning me again, because if I look at GPS, 24 miles. So now I have a 6-mile spread on my fuel range. My 25-mile range is probably going to affect a few things. Number one, my destination is 21 miles. So there's 4 miles in it now. One thing I did not account for is that this is the destination, which is downtown Albuquerque. I didn't set a destination to a fuel station. So with the 4-mile spread, that gets me to downtown, but I don't know where the nearest fuel station is. So if I lose my spread and I start to go negative, I'm gonna have to find a real close station. But I want to get downtown first.
Use the left 2 lanes.
Look at that, green light. Perfect timing.
Continue on Carlisle Boulevard Northeast for 1.5 miles.
You know, I always thought a town like this would be nowhere I'd want to live, mainly because of what I saw in Breaking Bad. But so far I'm not seeing any of that here. I must be on the wrong or the right side of town. There's even a Whole Foods. Man, this is exciting! 0.4 miles. 0.3 miles.
Turn right onto Roma Avenue Northeast, then turn left onto Amherst Drive Northeast. Turn left onto Amherst Drive Northeast, then you will arrive at your destination.
Oh, getting so close. I see 2 stop signs in my way.
You have arrived.
Yes! I have done it with 20-mile range. I am in Albuquerque proper. So the stats are 701 miles, 61 mile an hour average, 53 mile per gallon average, 20-mile range. At the diesel station, Phillips 66, and I've already made it to Albuquerque. Time to fill up. Engine off. Time for dinner and a hotel. I haven't been myself lately. Let's go to El Paso.